Hey, what's happening? Happy Sunday. It's Daryl here. It's not so bright and early. 7 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today, this is probably going to be one of the most important videos I've ever made. Let me fill you in. I don't know. I probably won't monetize this. It's about my own personal experiences. Let me fill you in. I've gotten about 3 or 4 text messages from people I'm friends with, people from high school. One woman who I respect and admire very much, who I went to high school with, and people asking me about methadone treatment and recovery. And I've gotten these requests. I've gotten 3 or 4 of them over the last couple months, and I have so much to talk about on this subject. I'm not a very good typist, like writing text, and I have so much to say. It would take me forever. I keep making mistakes, so I decided to make a video, and it might be a little less personal, but it could reach more people. In this video, I'm going to be a little careful. There's some personal stuff that I'm not going to talk about. I gotta say that I'm a little concerned because this will be the second video in as many days that I've made a very personal video. Yesterday, I talked about some stuff that I never even talked about before, and I was surprised that it affected me. It's the first time I'd ever said some of those things out loud. And let's just say I'm glad I'm in a good place, a strong place right now. But it affected me, so I got to be careful about how personal I get. Okay, I'm going to talk about my personal experiences with recovery, but specifically methadone maintenance. I have no schooling in this. I'm not a counselor. I'm just going to give you my point of view, what I've learned, what I've observed, and how it affected me, my experiences. I'm not promoting it. I'm not telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Because I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that there's a whole lot of people that have negative things to say about recovery, but methadone in particular. And this video isn't to argue with anybody. If you don't like methadone, you don't think it's good or whatever, then feel free to tell me. But I'm not going to argue about it. This is just my personal experiences. All right. Okay. I've been clean and sober for 15 and a half years, since October 23rd, 2006. Before that, I had been in the methadone program for, I think, about 6 months. It took me about 6 months to finally start to get clean, to start giving them clean urines, to get my stuff together. I had been in and out of at least 13 detoxes. First, I would go to the hospital, and they'd put me in a detox for 3 to 5 days. There's a couple of them that I stayed in for 30 days. Hartford Hospital, I think it was. They kind of extended it. Every time I've gone into these programs, I had the total intention and desire to maintain my sobriety. I wrote down, I participated. I wrote down the plans, my aftercare plans, and all that. And within hours of walking out the door, each and every time, I was picking up and using again within hours. And believe me, that's not something I'm proud of. That's sad. 13 times. It got to the point, this was over a period of about 3 years, from 2000 to 2006, somewhere in there. It got to the point where one of the doctors at a hospital near here, he had seen I'd been in and out, and he said, he was basically saying that he doesn't think they're going to admit me anymore. I had used up, they weren't going to treat me because it wasn't working. And these treatments, these detoxes, cost thousands and thousands of dollars a day. And that scared me. I'd cried wolf, or whatever you want to call it, too many times. The doctors you have to have a written doctor's prescription or recommendation to get into the methadone program. And they'd given me them a couple times, and I just threw them in a drawer and went back to using again. This one last time, I don't know. I was at the end of my rope. I really thought I was going to die soon using. I didn't think there was any hope for me. My life was over. I was just going to continue to use. I did not see any way that I was going to stay clean. And something clicked, and I went to the methadone clinic. I remember using in the parking lot. My heroin addiction had gotten so bad. I needed, a bag before I went in and one when I came out. This must happen a lot probably at the clinic. So I was admitted there. At first, they're lenient. They don't expect or condone you to use, but they give you a little leeway. And I was using cocaine, crack, pills, and everything. I came up positive for all this stuff. After a couple months, I remember my counselor told me, "Daryl, you got to cut this stuff." She used the other word though. You got to cut this blank out, or they were going to kick me out. After I think it was about 6 months. They said, "You got to get it together and start giving us clean urines." And after about 2 weeks in the program, I started to feel different. When I first started going to the clinic, I would still go out and buy 5 bags every day. That was my usual maintenance, 5 to 10 bags. And I would get my dose and I'd go buy the 5 or 10 bags. Even though methadone blocks heroin from working. I was spending $30, $35 every day and doing all this for nothing. And I knew it, but it was so ingrained in my head that I kept doing it. One day, I decided not to go buy any. And I felt good. I after a couple of weeks, I actually felt normal for the first time in my life. I've speculated, again, I'm not a doctor or anything, but my entire life, even as a kid, I remember wanting to drink, to get drunk, to feel different other than how I felt. This was the first time in my life where I felt good. I didn't feel like I needed anything else. I felt social, I felt motivated, and I wanted it. I wanted more. It was the proverbial moment of clarity. A lot of people who go on methadone end up using, I went back to cocaine and crack, and I kept using that because the heroin was blocked. And I had been using that for 25 years, almost every day. And it was hard to quit, but I wanted to be in this program so much. They were going to kick me out if I didn't start giving clean urines. And after, I failed, I slipped a couple times. I'd go maybe 3 or 4 weeks, a month or two, I'd save some money, and then one day I would slip and use, and I'd go back to being clean again. This happened 3 or 4 times. And October 23rd was the last time, and that day was so bad. It was the worst day of my life. Everything went wrong. I locked my keys in the car. I told myself, if God is telling me, this is the time to get clean. So, if this isn't a message from God, I don't know what is, because that day was just so incredibly bad. I seriously, I think I got pulled over 3 times, different times throughout the day by the police. My car just died, completely died. The shifter locked. It was a message from God. All right. They have 2 different programs in this. Back then, this was 15 years ago. I think they have one program where you go in and it's not maintenance. I think it's just you go in there with the intention of, it's kind of like they just step it down to get you clean. They step you down, set you up with going to meetings after, and that's it. I think it's like 4 to 6 months. And then there's maintenance where it's just indefinite. You could stay on it as long as you want, as long as it's working and as long as you follow the rules, and all the criteria. You could stay on it forever, for life. My family, everybody's got a negative view of methadone. My sister at the time drove a van where she was driving sick people, old people, and she was driving methadone addicts to the clinic. And she got a very bad view of, she had a terrible view of methadone. You got to remember too that a lot of people, once you get into the program and you get clean, you start saving up money and you get a car and you start living like a normal person. And I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of the people she was giving a ride to still didn't have a car, still didn't have anything, and probably were still using. And I remember saying how they were getting sick in the van and all this other stuff. So she had a terrible view of methadone, as does a lot of people. And it took a long time. It took years, but my family eventually started seeing. I was on it for years. You got to remember, this was 16 years ago. The way it works is you got to follow. Well, when I was going there, you had to follow the criteria. You had to go to NA meetings once a week. I don't think that's one of the criteria anymore. But clean urines, and the more clean urines you get, like after 1 month, you get one take-home bottle. After 3 months, you get 2 bottles. That means you can take your bottles home. They trust you with them. I think it was after a year, you get 5. After 3 years, I think you get 2 weeks worth, and that's the top. So you only have to go to the clinic 2 times a month. That's what I had achieved. And I just looked at it as medication, like insulin. There's a lot of people out there that don't consider that clean and sober. To me, it was a medication. I took it exactly as doctor prescribed. And my whole life had changed. This is when I started I started getting into art and selling my artwork. I mean, my life bloomed. I paid off all my bills. I got all my teeth fixed. I got a regular doctor. I lost 90 pounds. I started working out every day. I turned into a completely different person, which brings me to the next thing. In order for this to work, you have to change your entire life. The reason when I was going through those detoxes and rehabs those 13 times, looking back, I could see what I was doing wrong. I would get out and I wouldn't follow my aftercare. I would go right back into the same situation, the same friends, the same girls, the same music, the same everything. You have to change all of that. You have to change your phone number. This is why I'm not sure if younger people, I don't know. I was 40 years old at the time, and I didn't have a problem from walking away from all the other people that I was using with, all my friends. I had no problem with just being done with them. And that's one of the big things that made me successful. Younger people, I don't know. If people in their 20s, I don't know if they could do that. I remember a girl I dated that I used to live with back in the days when I was using. She got clean too, and she became a counselor. And to this day, I told her nicely, I can't talk to you. I can't be around you. For me, those people are triggers. One of the times I relapsed back in 2004, 2005, I had been clean for about a month or two. And I picked up a friend, and I just gave him a ride, and he was cool. He said, no, he didn't want me to use or anything. Just gave him a ride. He got out of the car, but as soon as I dropped him off, I went and picked up. And I still remember it was just the look of his face and his laugh. And it was a trigger, so I had to push everybody out of my life. And it's hard to do. I wore different clothes, I ate different food. I didn't listen to the same music. For a long time, a lot of the music, Metallica, AC/DC, all reminded me of partying or using. You have to change. You have to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Otherwise, I failed. I would fail. That's one of the big things. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Like I said, you could stay on indefinitely on this program. The way to do it when you want to get off of it, if and when you feel the time is right, you have them, you work with the clinic to get it done. They'll step it down very gradually, and they'll schedule it to how it's working for you. Usually it was a little bit each week, just like 3 milligrams or something. Sometimes it could be more, sometimes it could be less. And, they would bring it back up if you felt uncomfortable, if you couldn't sleep. For me, the hardest time was right at the very end, when it was just down to like 5 milligrams or something. But it was worth it. It was all worth it. My sleep has never gone back to normal, ever. 15 years later. But I'm used to it now. It's just part of my life. I wake up every hour throughout the entire night, but it works for me now. I've become accustomed to it. There's so much more I could talk about. it's if you're serious about it, if you're at the end of your rope, if you are at the bottom of the barrel, if you've hit rock bottom and you are serious and you want it, and you follow all the rules and listen to what the clinic tells you, listen to the guidance, and you do what they say, it'll work for you. If not, it probably won't. The majority of people there just bitched and moaned the whole time. That's why I didn't like being there most of the time in the clinic, because you just heard people complaining about how they got wronged on their random tests. The whole time I was there, I never had one problem with the urines, as long as I was really clean. There's a lot of the clientele can be negative, but you have to want it if you want it bad enough. And for me, I think age might be a factor. I don't know. I was 40. When I went into it, and I was able to push everything out of my life and start rebuild myself from the ground up. I don't know. I think anybody can do it, but you have to really want it. And I think it might be harder for somebody in their late teens or 20s to do that, to just push everybody out of their life, ex-girlfriends, love interests, best friends, anybody you use with, anything associated with that life, gone. Change your phone number, everything, as a rule. And you have to know how you're going to react when you come across people using. You have to have that right, you turn around and leave. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to want it. You have to have a program. I'll talk more about it in the future. I hope this has helped answer some of your questions. You guys have a great Sunday.